One of these songs secretly inspired rap music 15 years before hip-hop existed. Another was so disturbing that radio stations banned it instantly. And one legendary artist spent his entire career making classics, only for his biggest hit to become a joke song about a bell. Early R&B was way stranger, funnier, and more rebellious than most people realize. Tonight, we're looking at 10 R&B songs that started as jokes, novelty records, or outright chaos, then somehow became unstoppable hits. Number 10, Tutti Frutti. Little Richard. The funny thing about Tutti Frutti is that modern audiences usually hear it as harmless fun. A loud guy screaming over a fast piano beat. But in 1955, this record felt dangerous enough to make adults nervous. Little Richard already had a reputation before mainstream America discovered him. In southern clubs, he was explosive. Wild makeup, huge energy. Loud performances that felt closer to controlled chaos than polished entertainment. The problem was that record executives kept trying to force him into cleaner, safer music that completely flattened his personality. Then, Tutti Frutti happened almost by accident. And once Richard started pounding that piano, there was no putting the energy back in the box. Even after the lyrics were rewritten for radio, the spirit of the song still sounded rebellious. You could hear the nightclub inside it. That's what made the record impossible to ignore. Honestly, that scream at the beginning may have done more to change popular music than most carefully planned studio sessions ever did, because it sounded free. Number 9, Say Man, Bo Diddley. A lot of legendary musicians become trapped by their own image. People expect seriousness from them all the time. That's partly why Say Man is so fascinating. Bo Diddley could have made another intense rhythm-driven record and nobody would have complained. Instead, he released what basically sounds like two friends roasting each other on a front porch. And somehow, it became his biggest crossover hit. The chemistry matters more than the insults themselves. Bo Diddley and Jerome Green sound genuinely amused with each other. There's rhythm inside the conversation, but it never feels rehearsed. That looseness gives the song personality. Looking back now, the record almost feels weirdly ahead of its time. The playful bragging, the back-and-forth delivery, the conversational flow. You can draw a straight line from Say Man to battle rap decades later. Which makes the whole thing even funnier. One of the earliest records carrying the DNA of hip-hop was built around grown men calling each other ugly for 3 minutes. If you love these stories, subscribe to R&B Vault. Channels like this survive because of people who genuinely care about the music, the history, and the stories most channels never take the time to tell properly. Every subscriber honestly means more than you think, especially while we're trying to build something special here. And if you've already subscribed, thank you, seriously. Number 8, I Put a Spell on You, Screamin' Jay Hawkins. Some records sound polished. Some sound emotional. I Put a Spell on You sounds like something escaped. Because of mine. That's the best way to describe it. Screamin' Jay Hawkins approached performance differently from almost everybody else in early R&B. Even before the horror theatrics, there was something theatrical about the way he delivered songs. He stretched words strangely, growled unexpectedly, let moments feel uncomfortable instead of smoothing them out. And audiences were not prepared for that. I put a The famous recording session reportedly turned into complete chaos after the room filled with alcohol and food. Normally, that kind of story gets exaggerated over time, but honestly, the finished record actually sounds drunk in the best possible way. Nothing feels controlled. Then Hawkins doubled down by turning himself into a full stage character afterward. Coffins, skulls, smoke, screaming entrances. Today, artists build shock value strategically. Hawkins felt like he genuinely enjoyed making audiences nervous. And weirdly enough, that authenticity is probably why people still remember him. Number 7. Yakety Yak, The Coasters.
You ain't gonna rock and roll no more. Yakety yak.
Don't talk.
Yakety Yak feels almost too simple to become historic. That's part of the genius. The song is basically built around one universal experience: adults telling teenagers what to do. That's it. No complicated concept. No deep metaphor. Just frustration, attitude, and somebody getting tired of hearing instructions. But the timing could not have been better. By the late 1950s, American teenagers were becoming their own culture for the first time. Different music, different slang, different behavior. Parents genuinely felt like they were losing control of their kids. Then, the Coasters turned that tension into comedy. What makes the record survive decades later is how recognizable the situation still feels. You can picture the entire scene immediately without needing explanation. And honestly, the song works because it never fully chooses a side.
Thank you.
Parents laugh at the disrespect. Teenagers laugh at the parents being annoying. That balance is harder than it looks. Most funny songs become dated. This one still sounds alive. Number 6, Charlie Brown, The Coasters, 1959.
Charlie Brown,
There's a reason people still quote "Why's everybody always picking on me?" decades later. Everybody has met a Charlie Brown before. The kid who causes problems constantly gets caught immediately.
He's picking on me.
That's him on his knees. I know.
Then somehow acts shocked every single time consequences appear. What makes the song clever is that it never turns him into a villain. He feels annoying, but also weirdly believable.
He's gonna get caught. Just you wait and see.
Almost innocent in his own mind. That's probably why audiences connected to it so strongly. The Coasters understood character better than most groups from that era.
Oh, guess who?
Who, me?
Their songs did not just sound musical. They sounded cinematic. You could visualize the classrooms, the teachers, the eye-rolling, the bad decisions. Even the production tricks helped sell the humor.
He's a clown. That Charlie Brown.
That squeaky, sped-up voice still sounds playful now because it captures the exact feeling of somebody panicking after getting caught. And honestly, the song lasts because growing up usually means realizing every school had somebody exactly like Charlie Brown. Sometimes multiple people.
Who calls the English teacher daddy?
Number 5. Along Came Jones, The Coasters.
If you don't give me the deed to your ranch, I'll throw you all in.
By 1959, Westerns dominated American entertainment so heavily that parody almost became inevitable. Cowboys were everywhere. Television, movies, lunchboxes, commercials. American culture treated Western heroes with complete seriousness.
Slow talking Joe.
Then the Coasters came along and basically turned the entire genre into a joke.
So I got to get myself a snack.
Along Came Jones works because it exaggerates every Western cliché just enough to become ridiculous. The helpless woman, the slow-moving hero, the dramatic danger that somehow keeps happening over and over again. You can hear the group enjoying how absurd the whole thing is. But underneath the humor sits something more interesting. Black performers openly mocking one of America's most iconic white entertainment genres was not a normal thing in the late 1950s.
Man, get down. I got so bugged.
That layer gives the song extra bite whether audiences consciously noticed it or not.
Same old shoot 'em up, same old rodeo. Start to
Maybe that's why comedy mattered so much in early R&B humor let artists say things sideways. People laughed first, then realized later what the joke was actually doing.
On the river. A train was coming.
Number 4, Poison Ivy, The Coasters. Poison Ivy might be one of the sneakiest hit songs ever recorded, because the entire record survives on misdirection. Everything about it sounds playful at first. The melody feels upbeat. The lyrics sound exaggerated in a cartoonish way. Even the comparisons to diseases almost come across silly enough to ignore. Which is exactly why audiences missed what the song was really implying for so many years. The Coasters and songwriting duo Jerry Leiber and Mike Stoller were masters at this kind of writing. They understood how to hide adult meaning inside humor without making the joke too obvious. And honestly, early R&B had to become good at that. Direct language brought censorship. Suggestion created mystery. That mystery became part of the fun. What makes Poison Ivy impressive is how casually it slips risky subject matter into mainstream radio without sounding heavy or preachy about it. Most listeners were probably just dancing to it. Meanwhile, the writers were sitting there knowing the entire country missed the joke completely. Number 3, Walking the Dog, Rufus Thomas. Rufus Thomas feels different from most artists on this list because he never sounds like somebody chasing youth. That confidence matters. By 1963, pop music was increasingly built around younger stars, younger audiences, younger faces. Rufus was already a longtime entertainer before many rock stars even entered the industry. He had worked as a comedian, radio personality, performer, and local Memphis legend for decades. Then suddenly Walking the Dog turned him into a national hitmaker. And honestly, part of the charm comes from how relaxed he sounds on the record. He's not trying to look cool, not trying to sound dangerous. He sounds like somebody genuinely enjoying himself. That feeling carries through the speakers. The song itself is playful, almost to the point of absurdity. Whistling. Nursery rhyme references. Dog commands. Yet the groove underneath it keeps everything grounded. That balance probably explains why rock bands immediately started covering it afterward, because underneath the novelty sat real rhythm and personality. And personality usually outlasts trends. Number 2, The Twist, Hank Ballard and the Midnighters. The story of The Twist says a lot about how music history gets rewritten, because Hank Ballard should probably be mentioned first every time the song comes up, but he usually is not. Ballard already had a reputation for pushing boundaries before The Twist existed. His records carried humor, energy, and enough suggestiveness to make conservative audiences uncomfortable. That edge made him exciting. When he recorded The Twist, nobody expected it to become a cultural earthquake. It spread naturally at first. Teenagers copied the dance. Local scenes picked it up. Energy moved person to person before the industry fully understood what was happening. Then television stepped in. Dick Clark recognized the opportunity immediately, but mainstream television often preferred safer packaging. Chubby Checker became the public face of the craze, while ballads slowly drifted into the background. That part of the story still feels unfair, but maybe that is also proof of how powerful the original idea was. Even after history reshuffled the credit, the movement itself still traces back to Ballard's version. Without him, the entire dance craze era probably changes. Number 1. My Ding-a-Ling, Chuck Berry.
Son, there's nothing wrong with sex. It's just the way that you handle it, you see.
If somebody invented this story for a movie, people would probably call it unrealistic. Chuck Berry spends years helping shape rock and roll itself.
Oh, my.
Writes classics, influences generations, becomes one of the most important musicians alive. Yet his only number 1 hit ends up being My Ding-a-Ling, a joke song, and not even a subtle one. That contradiction is almost too perfect. What makes the story even better is that Berry clearly understood exactly why audiences loved it.
I'd be the king, and I'd let her play with my ding-a-ling.
During live performances, he turned the entire thing into audience participation theater.
Beautiful, I think it is. Yes, sir.
Crowds shouted lines back at him while laughing through the innuendo together. Critics hated it because they wanted legends to behave with more dignity than real entertainers usually do.
I think it's...
Berry did not care. Honestly, that confidence might be the most rock and roll part of the entire story.
And he's not singing. You know what I'd really like?
He gave audiences something fun, ridiculous, and impossible not to react to. And after decades of trying, that became the song that finally pushed him to number 1.
Your song, it ain't so sad. The cutest little...
Early R&B was never as clean or respectable as history sometimes pretends it was. It was funny, rebellious, risky, and completely unpredictable. And somehow, some of the biggest joke songs ever recorded ended up shaping music history forever. So the next time somebody says novelty records do not matter, remember this list. Because a lot of those jokes changed the sound of popular music permanently.